In the early months of 2023, life on Earth carried on much as it always had. People woke up, went to work, talked about their daily struggles, and the world seemed ordinary, predictable, and calm. But somewhere far away, beyond the reach of any human eye, something unusual was happening in the vast emptiness of space. A faint signal, almost invisible against the cosmic noise, began to make its way toward Earth. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. At first, the signal seemed random, like static or interference. Satellite operators and astronomers who monitored space often encountered strange noises and anomalies. Usually, these were dismissed as glitches caused by solar winds, satellite malfunctions, or cosmic background radiation. Yet, this signal was different. It had a subtle order, a pattern that hinted at intelligence. The first person to notice it was Dr. Leanne Ortiz, a senior analyst at a deep space research facility. She spent countless nights staring at data streams from the far reaches of the solar system. Her job required patience, focus, and a keen eye for anomalies, and she had developed a reputation for noticing details that others missed. When she saw this signal, something inside her told her it was important. Unlike the usual cosmic noise, which appeared and disappeared without reason, this signal pulsed with rhythm, almost like a heartbeat in the emptiness of space. Dr. Ortiz quickly ran the signal through several analytic algorithms, feeding it into pattern recognition software that she and her team had developed over years. The results were astonishing. The signal was structured, it wasn't random, and it carried a message, though its meaning remained a mystery. Realizing the potential gravity of the situation, Dr. Ortiz immediately alerted her superiors. The facility was under strict protocols for unusual or unidentified signals. These protocols had been rarely used in the last decade, and most of the staff only knew of them through training manuals and outdated records. Dr. Ortiz's discovery triggered an emergency procedure known as Potential Distress Call, origin unknown. Within minutes, alerts went out to a network of scientists, engineers, and military officers across multiple hidden facilities worldwide. The message was clear but cryptic: assemble immediately. No explanations were given. People dropped what they were doing, leaving labs, offices, and homes, rushing to secure locations where the gravity of the situation could be assessed. Meanwhile, deep underground, a secret program called Project Sentinel began to stir. For decades, Sentinel had been the world's most classified aerospace program, operating in complete secrecy. Rumors of its existence floated in conspiracy forums, news leaks, and occasionally in declassified documents, but most of the world had no idea that the program was real. Its purpose had always been cloaked in mystery. Some said it was designed to protect Earth from alien threats. Others claimed it was a technological research project so advanced that even governments didn't fully understand it. In reality, Sentinel housed what many described as Earth's most lethal and sophisticated Starships vessels, capable of interstellar travel and armed with technology that could rival anything seen in science fiction. But these starships had been dormant for years. After decades of development, they had been stored in hidden facilities, covered in dust, and maintained only minimally, ready to be activated in the event of an extreme threat. The signal changed everything. Within the secure corridors of Sentinel's command centers, alarms began to beep, lights flickered, and digital screens displayed the incoming distress call. The staff were tense, aware that the decisions made in the coming hours could have consequences far beyond their comprehension. For the first time in a decade, the dormant protocols of Project Sentinel were fully activated. The program that had been quietly waiting in the shadows suddenly became the center of attention, a hidden giant awakening to the possibility that something extraordinary or dangerous was out there in the void of space. As teams assembled in briefing rooms, the atmosphere was tense yet electric. Scientists, engineers, and military officials, some of whom had never even seen a starship, now found themselves face to face with plans and procedures that were centuries ahead of public knowledge. Every monitor displayed streams of data from the signal, and every team member tried to make sense of the incomprehensible numbers and patterns that seemed almost alive. Dr. Ortiz was at the heart of it, guiding everyone through the analysis, explaining how the signal's rhythm suggested a call for help rather than aggression. Yet, despite her confidence, there was a lingering fear. No one knew who or what had sent this message. Outside the walls of the facilities, the world remained oblivious. People went about their lives, seeing only normal satellite communications, weather updates, and news about politics and sports. They had no idea that their planet had just been contacted by something unknown, something possibly far more advanced than humanity. Inside the secret rooms, though, the tension was palpable. Each second that passed seemed longer than the last. The analysts knew that any mistake could be catastrophic. One wrong interpretation could lead to panic, military escalation, or even a preemptive strike. And yet, the sense of discovery was exhilarating. They were on the edge of a revelation that could change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. Some ran simulations, trying to guess the origin of the signal. Others analyzed its frequency, amplitude, and modulation patterns. They cross-referenced every known celestial body, looking for anything that could explain the signal's trajectory. Hours passed like minutes. Coffee cups piled up, fingers tapped feverishly at keyboards, and the hum of computers filled the air. Dr. Ortez occasionally leaned back in her chair, eyes scanning the endless streams of numbers, trying to detect anything others might have missed. Her instincts were sharp. Years of experience had trained her to trust the subtle clues in complex data. As the team dug deeper, they realized that the signal was coming from an area of space previously thought to be empty. No planets, no stars, no known debris, just dark void stretching for millions of kilometers. That made the signal even more mysterious. Who or what could be sending a message from such a place? And why now, after all this time? The questions multiplied faster than the answers. Every possibility seemed stranger than the last. From a lost human probe to a civilization beyond Earth, the signal had already begun to change everything about the way Earth viewed its place in the universe. It was not a simple anomaly. It was a call, a disturbance, a question that demanded action. And somewhere, hidden beneath the deserts, mountains, and oceans, Project Sentinels, starships, waited, dormant but ready. The stage was set for an awakening that no one could ignore. A moment when the quiet, ordinary life on Earth collided with the extraordinary unknown. The distress call had done more than just appear in the cosmos. It had shaken the foundations of humanity's most secret technologies, awakened forces that had been asleep for years, and forced brilliant minds to confront a reality far larger and more mysterious than they had ever imagined. This phase ended with tension thick in the air, hearts racing, and minds buzzing with possibility. The signal pulsed steadily on the monitors, relentless and mysterious. Every person in those secret rooms knew that whatever came next would change the world, though no one yet knew how. The first steps of a journey into the unknown had begun, sparked by a simple yet extraordinary distress call from the dark reaches of space. Deep beneath the arid Nevada desert, hidden under layers of rock and concrete, lay the dormant fleet of Project Sentinel, a fleet so secret that most people didn't even know it existed. These were no ordinary vehicles. They were advanced starships built in absolute secrecy, capable of traveling vast distances in space, and armed with technology that most humans could only imagine in science fiction. For years, they had rested in massive underground hangars, coated in dust, their engines cold, their AI systems powered down. Only a select few knew their locations and their purpose, and even they hadn't seen these marvels in action for over a decade. Now, the distress call from the distant reaches of space had triggered protocols that would awaken them and change everything. The first stirrings of the fleet began subtly. Lights flickered in the underground chambers, sensors hummed to life, and airlocks that had been sealed for years slowly began their mechanical cycles. Engineers who had been on standby for hours watched with a mix of awe and apprehension. They had trained for this moment, but training could never fully prepare anyone for the first sight of these starships powering up. Argus 1, the lead vessel, began its activation sequence. Its hull, made of a dark alloy that seemed almost liquid in the low light, shimmered as internal systems came online. Its engines, once silent, started a low, vibrating hum, resonating through the hangar like the heartbeat of a giant awakening. The starships were intelligent in their own way. Each carried an onboard AI system designed to handle complex decisions in space, assist human pilots, and operate autonomously if necessary. When the activation protocols ran, the AI began self-diagnosing. Systems checked each other, engines calibrated themselves. Navigation arrays aligned with stellar coordinates, and weapons arrays ran safety protocols. It was as if the fleet itself was coming alive, shaking off years of dormancy to respond to an urgent call from the unknown. Personnel in the hangar held their breath as they watched the process unfold. This was the culmination of decades of secret engineering. Every bolt, every circuit, every line of code, a testament to human ingenuity. For the first time, they saw their efforts, hidden for years from the world, finally take shape in the real world. Engineers adjusted controls, monitored readings, and ensured that nothing malfunctioned. Even the slightest error could be catastrophic. These starships were not toys. They were weapons and exploration vessels designed to face unknown threats far beyond Earth. Outside the underground hangars, the world remained blissfully unaware. On the surface, the desert looked empty and quiet. Tourists and locals wandered near the restricted areas, seeing only the occasional security vehicles, thinking them normal military exercises. But deep underground, history was unfolding. The activation of the fleet was not just a technical achievement. It was a signal that Earth was taking its first step into a new era of preparedness, a recognition that the universe could be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. As Argus 1 and the other ships powered up, the atmosphere in the control rooms was a mix of tension and excitement. Commanders and scientists monitored every aspect of the awakening, checking energy outputs, system efficiencies, and communication links. Some whispered quietly about the historical significance of what they were witnessing. These vessels were not just machines. They were symbols of humanity's ambition and resilience. They represented the ability to respond to a threat that might come from light years away, a capability that had been kept secret to prevent panic and maintain geopolitical balance. The fleet's AI systems, now fully operational, began coordinating among themselves. They calculated optimal flight trajectories, assessed potential risks, and prepared contingency plans for various scenarios. Each ship could operate independently or as part of a coordinated swarm, with instantaneous communication between vessels. The engineers marveled at the sophistication of the design. The fleet was capable of making decisions faster than any human crew could, yet still relied on humans for critical judgment calls. As the starships prepared to move, the political implications of the fleet's awakening began to weigh heavily on those in charge. Even within the secretive confines of Project Sentinel, debates arose. Should they immediately respond to the distress call, or wait to gather more information? Sending the fleet out prematurely could be interpreted as aggression by other nations or unknown entities, but delaying could mean missing an opportunity to respond to a genuine plea for help. These decisions were tense and fraught with responsibility. The leaders of the project had to balance secrecy, safety, and the potential for first contact with something entirely unknown. Meanwhile, in other Sentinel facilities across the globe, the activation of the fleet was mirrored in parallel systems. Each facility had its own hangars, its own vessels, and its own teams of engineers and scientists. Protocols ensured that all sites worked in harmony, creating a coordinated global response. Communications were encrypted and secure, with multiple layers of authentication to prevent leaks. The scale of the operation was unprecedented. Even the most veteran staff found themselves awed by the sheer complexity and magnitude of what was happening. One of the most extraordinary aspects of this phase was the physical transformation of the hangars themselves. Massive doors, sealed for years, opened slowly, revealing the starships in all their glory. Lighting systems illuminated their sleek surfaces, casting reflections that seemed almost supernatural. Dust particles danced in the beams of light, making it look as if the vessels were emerging from another dimension. Technicians moved carefully, checking every panel, every sensor, every joint. The air smelled faintly of ozone and machinery, a reminder of the raw energy being channeled through these incredible machines. As the ships ran through final pre-flight checks, tension gave way to exhilaration. For the first time in decades, humanity had the chance to respond to something truly unknown in space with technology that could match the scale of the challenge. The fleet's awakening was a testament to human ingenuity, determination, and foresight. These vessels were the culmination of years of research, design, and secrecy, and now they were alive, ready to face whatever lay beyond the stars. Even as excitement filled the control rooms, there was an underlying current of fear. No one could predict what the fleet would encounter once it left the safety of Earth's orbit. The distress call that had triggered this awakening was mysterious, possibly ancient, and carried an urgency that could not be ignored. There was no precedent for this situation. All the simulations, all the training, all the contingency planning could not fully prepare the teams for what lay ahead. Every person in the facility understood that the universe was vast and unpredictable, and the starships were stepping into an unknown reality where the rules were not yet written. The fleet was fully awakened, its engines thrummed with energy, systems fully online, and crews ready to respond to orders. The starships no longer resembled dormant machines. They were active, alert, and capable. The tension, the anticipation, and the awe filled every corner of the underground hangars. Outside, the desert remained silent, hiding the extraordinary activity beneath its surface. The distress call from space had not only awakened the fleet but also awakened a new chapter in human history. The world was on the brink of discovering that it was not as alone as it had believed, and that humanity had prepared, in secret, for the day when the unknown reached out to us. The fleet, once dormant and hidden, was alive and operational. The unknown signal had done more than just alert scientists. It had brought Earth's most advanced starships to life, ready to face whatever awaited in the vast darkness of space. The anticipation of what would come next hung heavily in the air, as everyone involved understood that humanity was now on a path that could never be reversed. The stage was set for the next steps, a journey that would take the fleet and its human crews farther than anyone had ever imagined, into a future where the unknown was no longer silent. As the newly awakened fleet of Project Sentinel readied itself for action, the signal from deep space continued to pulsate steadily, demanding attention. On Earth, outside the secret underground facilities, a different kind of response was beginning. While the general public remained unaware of the full scale of events, a growing number of amateur astronomers, hobbyists, and independent space enthusiasts started noticing anomalies in the skies. Strange patterns appeared in their data, tiny, repeating signals that seemed to defy natural explanation. At first, most dismissed these as equipment glitches, cosmic interference, or software errors. But as the patterns persisted, they began to notice a structure, a rhythm that suggested intelligence. These amateur discoveries quickly spread across online communities. Forums, blogs, and live streaming channels buzzed with speculation. People debated furiously about the possible origins of the signals. with ideas ranging from secret government experiments to distant alien civilizations. Videos of strange patterns in the sky went viral, garnering millions of views. Even mainstream media picked up on the phenomenon, framing it as a mysterious space anomaly. Though most coverage treated it as curiosity or speculation, the reports began to create a subtle, public sense of anticipation and unease. Meanwhile, inside the secret facilities, the analysts and scientists of Project Sentinel worked tirelessly to decode the signal. Dr. Liane Ortiz, who had first recognized its significance, led a team dedicated to understanding its origins. They examined every aspect of the transmission: frequency, amplitude, modulation, timing, and even subtle variations that might indicate intentional coding. Their analysis revealed astonishing complexity. The signal was structured in layers, with embedded patterns within patterns, almost like a language or a mathematical formula waiting to be understood. It suggested that whoever or whatever had sent it possessed intelligence far beyond anything humanity had encountered. The deeper they dug, the more mysterious the signal became. Satellite imagery and celestial scans confirmed that the transmission originated from an area of space thought to be empty, devoid of stars, planets, or any known objects. This made the discovery all the more unsettling. If nothing was supposed to exist there, how could something send a signal that reached Earth across millions of kilometers? The data suggested that the source was ancient, possibly originating centuries or millennia ago. This added a chilling uncertainty. Was it a remnant of a lost civilization, a malfunctioning probe, or something entirely different? As the mystery deepened, Sentinel's leaders realized their response had to be coordinated carefully. The stakes were enormous. Sending the fleet into space without proper preparation could trigger misunderstandings with other nations or provoke unknown entities. International politics, secrecy, and security concerns weighed heavily on every decision. Secret meetings were held in the dead of night, attended by top military officials, scientists, and strategic advisors. Some argued for immediate action. After all, the signal appeared to be a distress call, a plea for help. Others cautioned restraint, warning that rushing into the unknown could be catastrophic. The debates were tense, sometimes heated, reflecting the enormity of the situation and the responsibility resting on their shoulders. Inside the briefing rooms, holographic displays projected the signal's waveform in intricate 3D patterns. Analysts compared the data to every known communication protocol, scientific principle, and astronomical observation. Even artificial intelligence systems struggled to fully decode the transmission. It became increasingly clear that the message was not simply a random distress call. Embedded within its structure were warnings, calculations, and coordinates, as if whoever sent it had anticipated that the recipient might not fully understand its meaning. Dr. Ortiz and her team worked around the clock, sleep-deprived and tense, trying to unravel the layers of information. Every discovery brought both answers and new questions, deepening the sense of mystery. That the global dimension of the situation soon became evident. While Sentinel operated in secrecy, the anomalous signals and leaked information from amateur observations attracted the attention of various governments. Some nations demanded explanations, suspecting that the signal could be linked to experimental weapons or clandestine technologies. Others feared that it indicated the presence of a threat approaching the solar system. Behind closed doors, military leaders discussed potential strategies, contingency plans, and global coordination. Though few outside their inner circles understood the full scale of the operation, the tension between transparency and secrecy became a constant balancing act. As days passed, the urgency of the situation intensified. A second, stronger transmission arrived from the same region of space, this time unmistakably signaling distress. The new message contained bursts of energy and encoded patterns that suggested something was damaged or in immediate danger. Scientists observed fluctuations in the signal that hinted at structural failure or catastrophic events at the source. The implications were profound. Whatever had sent the first signal was clearly still there, suffering or in peril, and time might be running out. This revelation forced Sentinel's leaders to accelerate their decisions. The fleet was fully operational now, and it seemed the universe had issued a direct call for Earth's intervention. Despite the urgency, uncertainty remained. Analysts cautioned that rushing into the unknown could be interpreted as aggression, especially if other nations detected the fleet's movement. Political and diplomatic advisors debated the consequences of action versus inaction. They discussed scenarios ranging from first contact with a benign intelligence to encountering a hostile force capable of destroying human civilization. Each hypothetical outcome seemed more incredible and frightening than the last. The responsibility felt crushing. One wrong step could trigger a global disaster or start an interstellar conflict. On the middle of this tense period, Dr. Ortiz discovered something unexpected in the transmission's metadata. Hidden signals embedded in the distress call seemed to suggest prior knowledge of human technologies, even referencing patterns in satellite arrays and global communications infrastructure. It was as if the sender had anticipated Earth's development over decades, predicting the existence of programs like Sentinel and the capabilities of the fleet. This realization sent a ripple of unease through the command center. If the signal's originator had this level of foresight, then humanity might be dealing with an intelligence far more advanced than anticipated. Every protocol, every calculation, and every security measure suddenly felt fragile in comparison. Amid the scientific frenzy, internal security measures ramped up, communications were tightly encrypted, and access to sensitive data was restricted to the most trusted personnel. Outside the secret facilities, attempts to monitor satellite transmissions were met with sophisticated countermeasures. The tension between secrecy and public curiosity grew more acute as rumors circulated online. While no official confirmation existed, the buzz about strange space signals created an undercurrent of excitement, fear, and speculation worldwide. Citizens felt the faint brush of something extraordinary approaching, even if they did not yet understand it. The human element became as critical as technology. Analysts, engineers, and military personnel faced mounting pressure and exhaustion. Long hours, minimal sleep, and the psychological weight of dealing with the unknown tested their limits. Small mistakes could be catastrophic, yet every team member displayed extraordinary focus and dedication. Bonds formed quickly between those working closely together, forged by shared purpose and the enormity of what they were witnessing. The sense of history in the making was palpable. Everyone involved knew they were part of a story that could redefine humanity's place in the universe. It had become clear that the signal was far more than an anomaly. It was a deliberate, structured message, reaching across the vast emptiness of space to Earth. The implications were staggering. An unknown intelligence had made contact, and humanity now had to respond. The fleet stood ready, fully awakened, while the world outside remained largely unaware of the extraordinary preparations occurring in secret. The tension between action and caution, between curiosity and fear, dominated every discussion. The distress call had created a chain reaction, compelling governments, scientists, and engineers to confront the unknown in a way they never had before. The stakes were immense, the risks unquantifiable, and the opportunity unparalleled. Every moment brought the world closer to first contact, to a reality where Earth was no longer a quiet observer in the cosmos but an active participant in a universe filled with mystery, danger, and possibility. The second transmission arrived suddenly, stronger and clearer than the first, cutting through the tension that had gripped Project Sentinel. Unlike the first signal, which had been mysterious and subtle, this one carried unmistakable signs of urgency. It pulsed with a rhythm that suggested danger, distress, and perhaps even desperation. The energy contained in the signal fluctuated wildly, hinting at some kind of structural failure at its source. Engineers and scientists working around the clock immediately noticed these anomalies. Dr. Leanne Ortez, who had been studying the signal from its first appearance, realized that this was not just a random distress call, it was an emergency. Someone, or something, was in trouble, and the time to respond was now. The arrival of the second transmission set off a flurry of activity across the secret facilities. Control rooms, which had already been tense with anticipation, became centers of focused chaos. Screens displayed the signal in multiple dimensions, revealing intricate patterns that suggested intelligence far beyond human comprehension. AI systems were engaged to analyze every layer of the transmission in real time. Data streams flowed like rivers of light across monitors, and technicians scrambled to interpret them, cross-referencing with every piece of knowledge they had about astronomy, physics, and interstellar communication. The urgency in the room was palpable. Every second felt like it carried the weight of life or death, political and military. Leaders within Project Sentinel began intense debates over the proper course of action. The fleet was fully operational, ready to move, yet every decision carried tremendous risk. Launching the Starships toward the unknown could be interpreted as a provocation by other nations, possibly triggering international conflict. On the other hand, hesitation could mean failing to respond to a genuine distress signal, potentially dooming whoever or whatever was in trouble. These discussions were not abstract. They involved real consequences, and the responsibility weighed heavily on everyone involved. Some argued for immediate deployment, trusting the instincts of the scientists who had decoded the signal. Others cautioned restraint, emphasizing the need for diplomacy, secrecy, and careful observation before committing to action. Despite the debates, the decision was eventually made. The first Starship, Argus I, would be launched. This vessel had been designated as the lead ship for critical operations, equipped with the most advanced AI systems, navigation tools, and emergency protocols. Its crew, consisting of highly trained engineers, pilots, and scientists, had spent years preparing for this moment. They had trained in simulators, studied theoretical scenarios, and drilled countless emergency procedures. But nothing could fully prepare them for an actual mission into the unknown reaches of space. As they suited up and entered the Starship, there was a mix of excitement, fear, and determination. Each crew member understood that this journey could change the course of human history. The pre-launch procedures were meticulous. Every system was checked, from life support to propulsion, from communication arrays to defensive mechanisms. Argus I ran continuous diagnostics, verifying that every subsystem was functioning perfectly. Engineers and technicians monitored energy outputs, recalibrated sensors, and adjusted trajectory algorithms. Even small anomalies were investigated thoroughly. There could be no margin for error. The hangar buzzed with activity, the air thick with anticipation. Dust swirled around the sleek delta-shaped vessel as it powered up, its dark metallic surface gleaming under the harsh hangar lights. The sense of a living, aware presence inside the ship was almost tangible. As the countdown progressed, families of the crew members received cryptic notifications. They were informed that their loved ones were entering extended service for an undefined period, with the exact mission details classified. The notifications were brief, formal, and emotionally detached, leaving families in a state of anxious anticipation. Outside the secure facilities, the world remained unaware of the magnitude of what was happening. To the public, Argus I's launch would appear as an unremarkable military exercise or a rare test of classified aerospace technology. The truth that humanity's most advanced starship was about to journey into the unknown was hidden beneath layers of secrecy and encryption. The final moments before launch were tense and electrifying. In the control room, Dr. Ortiz and her team watched as the ship's engines hummed to life. The vibration of immense power resonated through the hangar, a physical reminder of the technological marvel before them. Every panel, every instrument, and every display flickered to life, indicating that the vessel was ready to leave the safety of its underground home. The crew strapped themselves into their seats, their hearts racing, aware that they were about to venture into uncharted territory. The AI systems hummed in synchronized anticipation, coordinating every system, every calculation, and every trajectory with precision that no human mind could match. Finally, the moment arrived. Argus I lifted off from the hangar, moving slowly at first as it pierced the upper levels of the facility. Dust and debris were displaced by the sheer force of its engines, and engineers in the control room held their breath as the vessel ascended. Lights flickered across the walls, and alarms beeped as systems transitioned from internal power to full propulsion. The ship rose steadily, accelerating toward the surface, leaving the underground complex behind. As it passed through the final layer of reinforced structures, a collective sigh of relief echoed through the hangar. The first critical phase had been successful. Argus I was airborne and on course for the unknown. Outside, a rare atmospheric phenomenon added an almost cinematic effect to the launch. Auroral storms, caused by interactions between solar winds and Earth's magnetic field, lit the night sky with streaks of green, purple, and gold. To anyone watching from the surface, it appeared as a spectacular natural event, completely unrelated to the launch. In reality, it provided a perfect cover for the mission, masking the vessel's ascent and maintaining the secrecy of the operation. Argus I's sleek form cut through the shimmering light, disappearing into the darkness above, leaving Earth behind as it moved toward the source of the distress signal. As the ship traveled, the signal continued to pulse, guiding the vessel through space. The crew observed patterns in the transmission that suggested intentional design, almost as if whoever sent it had anticipated their movements. The AI systems analyzed these patterns in real time, adjusting course and speed to follow the most efficient trajectory. The crew experienced a mixture of wonder and apprehension. Every reading, every anomaly, every fluctuation in the signal reminded them that they were dealing with something far beyond human comprehension. It was both thrilling and terrifying to be the first humans to respond to a call from the depths of space, venturing into the unknown with no guarantee of what they would find. Dr. Ortiz and her colleagues monitored Argus I's progress from mission control. They observed data streams in real time, tracking the vessel's systems, communications, and navigational adjustments. Every calculation, every movement was scrutinized, as the safety of the crew and the success of the mission depended on their vigilance. The team worked tirelessly, interpreting complex signals, predicting potential hazards, and coordinating with other facilities to ensure seamless support. The tension was immense, but so was the sense of purpose. They were witnessing history in the making, participating in an operation that would be remembered for generations. As Argus I moved deeper into space, the crew encountered subtle anomalies in the environment around them. Small fluctuations in gravitational fields, unexpected bursts of cosmic radiation, and faint energy readings suggested that the area surrounding the source of the distress signal was unstable. The AI systems quickly calculated protective measures, adjusting shields, propulsion, and trajectory to compensate. The crew marveled at the technology, realizing that the ship's design was far ahead of anything previously conceived. It was as if the vessel itself were alive, responding instinctively to the challenges of an unpredictable and potentially hostile environment. Despite the advanced technology, the psychological pressure on the crew was intense. They were isolated from Earth, venturing into a region of space with no prior human presence. Every decision carried weight, and every reading had potential consequences. Yet, there was also a profound sense of awe. They were pioneers, exploring the frontier of human experience and capability. Each moment brought new discoveries, new mysteries, and new realizations of the vastness and complexity of the universe. The crew understood that they were not just responding to a distress call, they were stepping into history, representing all of humanity in the silent, uncharted expanse of space. Argus 1 was fully en route toward the source of the distress signal. The crew had successfully left Earth behind, guided by a mysterious transmission, and supported by the vigilance of Project Sentinel's teams on the ground. The tension, the anticipation, and the wonder reached a peak. Everyone involved understood that the universe was now revealing a fragment of its hidden mysteries to humanity, and that the journey had only just begun. The stage was set for an encounter that could redefine everything humanity thought it knew about space, intelligence, and the unknown forces that lay beyond Earth. Argus 1 continued its journey into the dark reaches of space, guided solely by the mysterious distress signal that had first awakened the fleet. Every moment brought the crew closer to the unknown, and every reading on their instruments seemed to carry a message beyond simple science. The deeper they traveled, the more the universe seemed alive with subtle phenomena, faint energy bursts, shifting gravitational fields, and cosmic particles moving in ways that defied conventional understanding. The crew, highly trained though they were, felt a mix of exhilaration and apprehension. They were no longer merely observers of space. They were participants in something unprecedented, stepping into an arena that no human had ever entered before. As the starship approached the coordinates embedded in the distress signal, the first physical evidence of the source appeared. In the void, a massive vessel floated silently, shattered and scarred. Its design was completely alien, with hull plates twisted and melted as though by intense energy. Yet its structure suggested advanced engineering far beyond human capabilities. The distress signal, emanating from fragments of this vessel, had persisted for centuries, possibly even millennia. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The crew realized that whatever had once occupied the ship had either perished or abandoned it under catastrophic circumstances. The scale of the destruction implied power and violence beyond human comprehension. Argus 1's sensors scanned the vessel, mapping every detail. The hull, though damaged, was still emitting faint energy signatures. Instruments detected remnants of machinery, suggesting that automated systems had attempted to repair or stabilize the ship long after its occupants were gone. The crew exchanged tense glances. It was clear that this was not merely debris, but a once functional craft that had faced overwhelming forces. The AI analyzed patterns of damage, seeking to understand what could have destroyed such an advanced vessel. The answers were unclear, but the magnitude of the force involved was undeniable. Despite the destruction, the distress signal continued to pulse, now faint but persistent. Dr. Ortez, monitoring from mission control on Earth, noticed that the signal had shifted slightly. It was no longer a simple plea for help. Embedded within the transmission were warnings, coordinates, and calculations, as if the original creators had anticipated that any responder might approach with curiosity or aggression. This realization heightened the tension in Argus 1's control room. The crew understood that even though the vessel appeared abandoned, its original creators had left instructions, possibly to protect something, or to warn future explorers. The message suggested intelligence and foresight that humans had barely begun to comprehend. The crew carefully maneuvered Argus 1 around the shattered vessel, scanning every angle. Strange materials, unlike anything catalogued on Earth, were embedded in the hull. They emitted low-level radiation and energy readings that were difficult to analyze. The AI ran simulations, predicting possible hazards such as energy discharges, gravitational anomalies, or automated defense mechanisms left by the original occupants. The tension was constant. Every new scan brought potential danger, yet the thrill of discovery kept the crew focused. They were explorers in every sense of the word, encountering evidence of a civilization and technology that might have been lost forever. In the control room on Earth, Dr. Ortez and her team followed every detail with intense scrutiny. Data streamed in continuously, providing insight into the vessel's composition, energy signatures, and potential hazards. Analysts debated the possible causes of its destruction. Was it an attack by another alien civilization, a natural cosmic event so powerful it could destroy even the most advanced ships, or perhaps a catastrophic failure of the vessel itself? Each possibility seemed more extraordinary than the last. The signal, which had first drawn humanity's attention, now served as a guide through this silent and mysterious wreckage. Argus 1's crew detected compartments within the vessel that appeared to be intact, despite the extensive damage. Though entry was impossible without risking the ship, they could sense faint residual energy and read data patterns suggesting that automated systems had attempted repairs long after the ship's original occupants had vanished. The AI began decoding these systems, extracting whatever information it could. The data suggested a complex history. The ship had been under attack or subjected to forces far beyond its ability to withstand. Yet, intelligence systems had tried to sustain it, maintaining life support or shielding critical components. The crew felt a profound respect for the intelligence that had once controlled the ship, even as they mourned the absence of its creators. As Argus 1 observed the wreckage, the implications for humanity became clear. This was evidence of civilizations far older and more advanced than Earth's, and of dangers that could potentially reach across the void of space. The knowledge that such forces existed was both humbling and alarming. Dr. Ortiz reflected on the magnitude of the moment. Humanity had reached a point where first contact was not a hypothetical discussion or a distant dream, but a tangible, undeniable reality. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of mysteries, and Earth was no longer an isolated observer despite the eerie silence of the wrecked vessel. Argus 1 detected subtle signals embedded within its energy emissions. Patterns in these signals suggested that the original crew had left behind instructions or warnings. Some messages seemed to indicate areas of interest, possibly containing knowledge or technology that could be salvaged or studied. Other signals carried cautionary notes, hinting at dangers that might still linger. The crew analyzed every fragment, understanding that the decisions they made now could have long-term consequences for humanity. This was more than a mission of exploration. It was a delicate negotiation with the unknown, requiring intelligence, restraint, and careful observation. As the vessel continued to emit its last fragments of the distress signal, Argus 1A, I began cataloging and storing every piece of information. Structural scans, energy readings, and residual data were compiled into a comprehensive archive. The ship's crew worked alongside the AI, interpreting what could be understood and preparing to report findings to mission control. Every detail mattered, from the shape of a twisted hull plate to the faint electromagnetic traces left behind. This information could provide critical insights into advanced technology, interstellar navigation, and survival in deep space environments. Humanity was witnessing evidence of a civilization that had endured and suffered, leaving behind only traces of its existence for others to discover. As Argus 1 continued its careful exploration, the significance of the mission became increasingly clear. The crew understood that while the immediate danger had passed, the presence of this ancient vessel indicated that space was far from empty. Powerful forces, possibly hostile or indifferent, had left their mark on the cosmos. Humanity now had a glimpse of a broader universe, one where civilizations could rise and fall over centuries or millennia, leaving behind relics and signals that could survive far longer than their creators. This realization added weight to every action, every decision, and every observation. Back on Earth, the decision was made to keep the findings classified. Governments and Project Sentinel leadership determined that public knowledge of the vessel could cause widespread panic or geopolitical tension. While the world had unknowingly been brought closer to the unknown, secrecy remained essential to ensure safety and control. Dr. Ortiz and her team documented everything meticulously, ensuring that humanity would have the knowledge and tools to respond to future encounters with similar anomalies. The cataloging of the vessel and the decoding of its signals became a mission in itself, a preparation for the possibility that other civilizations or dangers might exist in the cosmos. Argus 1 eventually completed its scans and prepared to return to Earth, carrying data and observations that would reshape scientific understanding. The crew had experienced firsthand the awe-inspiring magnitude of space, the power of advanced civilizations, and the fragility of life in the face of cosmic forces. The distress call had not only awakened the fleet but had also awakened humanity to the reality of the unknown universe. It was a moment of triumph, discovery, and sobering reflection, highlighting both the achievements of human ingenuity and the vast mysteries that still lay beyond. Argus 1's mission had reached a pivotal conclusion. The wrecked vessel remained in the darkness of space, silent yet still communicating in subtle ways through its lingering signals. Earth's most advanced starship had returned with unprecedented knowledge, confirming that humanity was not alone in the universe, that advanced civilizations had existed, and that dangers could be both immense and invisible. The mission was a success in terms of exploration, knowledge gathering, and preparedness, but it also served as a reminder. The universe was full of mysteries, some of which could be beyond human control or comprehension. Humanity had taken its first tangible step into the broader cosmos, guided by a distress call that had persisted across time and space. The crew of Argus 1 had faced the unknown and returned with invaluable insights. While Project Sentinel had proven the effectiveness of its technology and planning, yet the universe remained vast and enigmatic, leaving humanity to wonder what other signals, what other civilizations, and what other dangers might be waiting just beyond the stars. The distress call had ended, but its legacy, the awakening of knowledge, the demonstration of preparedness, and the reminder of cosmic mystery would continue to shape humanity's future for generations.